speaking of changes,
Definitely.
let's change to her second quote that she had posted, which is, I'm going to try and put it on screen again. Here we go. It's clear that our ambitions require deeper investment in the Xbox platform foundations than we've made before. Today, we operate across dozens of surfaces, pipelines, and release models without a shared code repository or common data foundation. As a result, quality and speed too often depend on heroics instead of systems. We also lack consistent infrastructure for experimentation, attribution, and learning, making it harder to know who's working to improve quickly. On the product side, and this part's the part that's really jumps out at me, our front end is a set of experiences built at different times where discovery, relevance, and social are not first class, and players have to work hard to find what to do next or who to play with. And here's what I'm thinking about this mostly. It feels like she's saying we got Windows, we got Xbox, and it's like we're speaking too many different languages. We got to get everybody piped in on the same thing. We got to get all of our UI and interfaces to look the same. We got to get everything to be the same, so it makes it so that the difference between Windows and Xbox doesn't really exist anymore. In very simple terms, that's how I imagine that she's kind of saying, which goes with the Xbox mode that came out today. And I tried it and I was like, hey, it's a controller first experience. It's still just the Xbox full screen experience, but now I can log in with my controller. So I'm still not happy with it. And I'm absolutely switching, like this SSD right here. This has Linux on it. I will be switching this back right away. I'm not interested in the Xbox full screen experience, or Xbox mode as they call it, because it still seems half baked. But it is a very, very tiny step in the right direction. Russ, what do you think about this quote?
Yeah, I like it. It shows that there are cracks in their system, which I think is good, and to acknowledge that is important. Windows to me, especially the full screen experience, feels like like a house of cards. Where it's just like these things stacked on top of each other, it's wobbly, and full screen Xbox mode as they're calling it now. It just feels janky. Like it's just like you go in, you don't know where your cursor is. It just doesn't feel fluid. Not to mention the fact that it's presenting you information that's not your priority. And so you got to kind of work against it. And I saw a video this week I think on Twitter, and it was someone saying, I want full screen or Xbox full, what do they call it? Xbox mode to feel like this. And it was just them messing around with the PSP OS, just moving back and forth between like the videos and stuff. But it was so snappy, right? And it just makes sense. Like, okay, UMD settings or whatever, they're just like going back and forth. And it's just like working like that, and that's where I like the stack of all the programs and everything else on top of Windows is what's causing a lot of this disconnect, and I think that that Asha is nailing it here, just talking about quality and speed too often depends on heroics instead of systems, and consistent infrastructure for experimentation, attribution, and learning. Like it's just hard for all these layers to actually make sense. And that's one of the beautiful things about a simple streamlined OS experience like Steam OS compared to, and so that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, when I read this, what was interesting to me was I had a reaction that is, I think, different than the both of you. And that is for a very specific reason. So for context for the viewer and the listener, Bill, you gave us show notes like you always do every week. And, we can optionally look deeper into the links, but in the show notes, you just put the quotes, right? You didn't say where this quote came from. My first reaction when I saw this was as an employee. I don't work for Xbox clearly, but I read this as an employee and I'm like, oh man, this is catnip for employees. And I dig into the site, and what I see is that, yeah, this is a leaked memo to employees. And obviously, leaked memos, we've seen them before, and sometimes they could be intentionally leaked. There's a chance for that. And even this one could still be intentionally leaked, but it's clear to me that this was not intended necessarily for the gamer audience. I think this benefits the gamer audience for sure, but I think it's clear to me that this was intended for the people that work for her. She says, I'm just going to repeat some parts here. It's clear that our ambitions require deeper investment in the Xbox platform foundations than we've made before. So investment meaning hiring, right? Today we operate across dozens of surfaces, pipelines, and release models without a shared code repository. So again, catnip, right? Like we're building all of these things and we're building them in all these different places, and people are doing the same work over and over again. And then she says, finally, the big one for me was, as a result, quality and speed too often depends on heroics instead of systems. One thing I've been preaching about at work all the time is like, if we have a problem, it's probably not a people problem, it's probably a systems problem. How can we fix the systems problem? And that's what she's saying here. And anyone that works with software developers has seen trying to fix things with heroics. I want to work the weekend to get this fixed, rather than saying that is a smell, right? Like that tells us that maybe we don't have the right staff, or we don't have enough staff. We need to hire the right people or more people so that that doesn't happen, right? And so the thing that I have is like, slow down to go faster. And what I'm hearing her say is, we're going to slow down to go faster. Again, it's easy to say that, it's hard to do that, but I think that's an interesting perspective, is not just what this means for gamers, but what this means for employees, and downstream what that'll mean for gamers.
Yeah, part of it to me, like the cynic in me also hears this and thinks these are all great ideas. And I'm with you, Rich, and it's like, I really appreciate when new leadership comes in and they start looking at things holistically, and they start looking, like I saw it all the time in the military. It was something I always appreciated, as long as they actually followed through and actually made those changes too. And so what I'm seeing here is that, yes, these are all great ideas on the Xbox side, but how is this going to coalesce with Windows? Like sure, she's got all these great ideas for Xbox. They want to make this excellent and stuff,
100%.
but Windows is like, well, we still need all these layers and stacks for all of our other things. And they're just kind of pushing against the system at that point, even within their own company. And so that's kind of my worry too, is that the greatest Xbox plan in the world may not amount to much if Windows doesn't follow suit.
Do you think that there's a world in which she posts a memo like that, but she hasn't gotten it cleared by Satya Nadella first?
Oh man, yeah, good question. So like, I think it's possible that okay, I think she definitely got it cleared by Satya, right? I don't think that it's evident from this that Satya's bought in to this, meaning you get to also coalesce beyond Xbox, right? Like coalesce efforts in Xbox and outside of Xbox. I don't think that this means that Satya's bought into that necessarily. Yet, I do think that Satya's bought into that, right? Like, I think something has turned a corner with Satya, or Satya has turned a corner somehow in this last 6 months, or probably beyond that, right? Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I think it's the only way that it works.
Yes,
The only
agreed.
way that Xbox is going to exist and survive in a way that is relevant,
Yeah,
in
agreed.
2026 and forward, is if Satya Nadella has bought in and said, yep, we got to change Windows to make Xbox better. And if we don't, it's just going to fail. That's just my opinion. Maybe I am biting off more than I can chew.
I would say too that there's a potential here that, within her own little sphere of influence, that Asha does make some sort of change that shakes things up, that shows a huge, like, improved response among user base, and just like a better streamlined process. And then that's what inspires them to change Windows, right? Like kind of changing it from within, where you're the example and you say, hey, we could all be doing this and we could all be succeeding. And maybe that's what kind of picks up momentum, if it's not already there. And so I got faith that, if they are going to try to push these things and really think about things at a fundamental level, I like what I'm hearing here, and hopefully that'll kind of trickle down to everything else. But yeah, we don't know. We're speculating on a leaked memo at this point that may or may not have been leaked on purpose.
That's
Yes.
absolutely true.
Yep.
All right, last thing for Microsoft, real quick. With Xbox mode being the Xbox full screen experience, does that make you guys just say, I'm done with it? I'm not interested. Does it change your interest in Project Helix if that's going to be the UI that we get when the same thing that you got on the Xbox Ally X? What do you guys think? Rich?
I'm not interested. I am interested. I kind of wish they had waited for the rebrand, like waited to call it Xbox mode until it had the things that we were talking about when we first heard Xbox mode, like the ability to play Xbox 360 games, potentially Xbox One games, all of that stuff. Like that's what I'm looking for from Xbox mode, in addition to it being a fully seamless experience, right? And I wish, yeah, that they had gotten a little bit more of that, a lot bit more of that, and before they really rebranded. I think the rebrand was too soon.
Do you think that, I mean, it is in beta. It's not on the main channel, so it's in the Canary build basically, and they got to get feedback from customers so that they can see if what they're doing is good or not. Does that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Russ.
I was just going to say that, like, I don't think it was a bad thing to do that, because Xbox Full Screen Experience was the worst name ever. So they got to change that name, you know what I mean? And so, like, just change it now, like, make the system better. Steam Big Picture mode was kind of crappy for a long time, and then it got better, and the name didn't have to change, because the name worked fine. So I'm not too worried about that part of it. I do think that we're still in that beta. We're all the test people at this point. We're the crash test dummies for it. But my biggest thing is that, yeah, at some point it's got to get good, because I got my Xbox Ally X sitting there with Windows, and I'll pull that thing up and I'll update it. Spend 2 hours going through all the various updates, and then I'm like, okay, how's it doing now? And it's the same old crap, and it's like, I'm so tempted to just put Linux on that thing and just wipe it, and I just don't, because I want to be able to test it. And at some point I'm going to get fed up, just move over, unless it starts to make some changes. So I don't know what the timeline for that is, but I definitely want to see that soon.
I think if they were going to change the UI, they would have changed it with Xbox mode. Like I feel like the UI that we have now is what we're going to see with Helix when it comes out. Which I think is it's a terrible UI. It really is. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let us know what you guys think about all this Xbox nonsense in the comment section down below. This was just a small part of my podcast, the Nerd Nest podcast. And if you enjoyed it, then do me a favor and click on that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, then I think you should check out the link in the description down below the like button. It's going to take you to the full podcast, so you can check out the entire conversation and a whole lot more. If that sounds good, I hope to see you over there. Stay rad, and thanks for watching.